Oh, I fucking hate winging the intro.
Should have written one then.
I did write one. I just fucking deleted it.
No, this is the intro now. We just just straight on in there.
We'll do it live.
This is a raw intro.
I'll try. It'll probably be cringe, but I'll give it a go. I'll try and say it.
Raw.
I'll try and say it like I normally say it, but I don't know how well it'll go. We'll give it a go. The hardest bit is like I always take the piss out of Aaron and Moots in the intro.
But the thing is, I like to back now.
Well, that's exactly. No, I like to spend a minute to come up with like a creative insult. You know, I'll sit down and I'll write a creative way to insult them, and it's usually got something to do with Aaron being acne-ridden and Moots being the size of a hamster.
If you want, I can lend out one that I've saved in my script here.
Ooh,
saved in my script.
Take your pick with who you want to use it on, but it's basically he speeds through the warp so he can kiss his dad on the lips.
That sounds like Moots. That sounds more like Moots than Aaron, to be fair.
My man's he's so fast.
I just can imagine I'm just going my little warp bike like wee. Wow.
Right, I'm gonna make the first bit of audio on the episode you saying that. So, hi there, and welcome to another episode of the Astartes podcast. Today we have been joined by the incredible The Amber King, aka Hal. Hal is here to join us today to put Magnus the Red on trial for his crimes, and myself and my co-hosts are going to attempt, probably feebly, to not only stay on topic this time, but to defend Magnus the Red in our own pitiful way. So, without further ado, I have been once again trapped in a floating heap of debris with a small man, a big man, and a medium man. My name is Tom, and these are my co-hosts.
Well, hello everyone. I'm Small Man, also known as Moots, also known as Lucas sometimes.
Sometimes. Only sometimes.
Depends on the weather.
Shrinks and grows, but only by about a centimetre.
What's the weather like down there?
It's right now. It's actually pretty good. It's like nice and chilly and warm. I don't know.
It doesn't have global warming.
A bit of both. I'm just drinking my milk. All right. I lost focus when I picked up my milk.
That's okay.
It happens to the best of us.
Aaron?
No. Hello, I'm Aaron, the large man. Don't get it twisted. That is all.
And I'll guess I'm Tom. No, I'm just kidding. I'm Hal. I'm Hal. I run the Amber King YouTube channel. I just kind of make, not really goofy, that's not really good enough, but I make lore videos about like characters in Warhammer. Unfortunately, it's probably to the length of where you probably got a mortgage by the time you finish one of my videos. It's just so long. But I dabble. I love Warhammer lore, and I'm here today to, well, it's a big topic because we're about to, unfortunately, we're going to roast one red man. Unfortunately, other red is not here, so he can't defend his brother in arms. But I actually had a joke about
I
that.
wouldn't be surprised for a minute if Red jumps in here just to say something, honestly. The thing is, Red not being a part of this episode initially was coincidental because he had other plans. And those other plans got scuppered. But we'd already taken up the slots and decided who was doing what. So he's just sat in our digital waiting room, essentially. He can come and go in here whenever he pleases. Like, he might just... I'm pretty sure he's playing Fallout at the moment. He's just chilling on Fallout right now.
This is like a virtual, like, we're all sitting on a picnic bench, and, like, he's on another one, and we're all just, like, waving.
Somehow I don't see him waving back. I see him flipping the bird.
He's playing Fallout up in the ventilation shafts of the Space Hulk. That's what he's doing.
I'd like to see if I can get like a soundbite of him screaming whilst playing it, I can just play in the background halfway through this episode, you know, just to try and give the audience the feeling of Red's just in the next room playing Fallout, you know.
Is it like just like a oh damn it, or is it like blood curdling and then the neighbors are worried and people panic?
I think it's more like a maniacal bit of laughter, knowing Red. To be fair,
probably enjoying himself too much. He's going to miss out on. To be fair, this is low key the roast of Magnus on this one, because I don't know how you guys feel about it, but some of the Primarchs are like they're written better than other ones. Particularly, I think people when they talk about like, the lion suffers through the problem of having more than one author at one time, and that kind of. I mean, someone definitely thought, you know what, we need the lion to do? Like what? You know, like great character development, like, you know, story-driven stuff. No, he needs to like smash the head of someone's cousin randomly in the middle of a story. And we know he's like calm, collected, and like the most emperor-like Primarch, but can we low-key just have that little moment so it like creates drama? And so, yeah, like some of the authors out there are like, "Yo, like that's some nice lore there. Let me get in on that and like, you know, like let me give that crappy haircut of lore."
Yeah.
Pain though. I mean, to be fair, it's not really the roast of any other Primarch, but my god.
Well, hold up.
Oh, okay.
It's an episode about Magnus. And there's no way we can roast Magnus, or any Primarch for that matter, without roasting Leman Russ.
Yeah.
To be fair,
that guy.
The burning of Prospero is bound to come up.
There is no way you can talk about Magnus's failings without talking about Leman Russ's mental crimp. You know? there's no way it can happen.
God, he's like I like Russ in a lot of like there's a novel called Wolfsbane, which he's written really well, and then other ones feel like it's the energy of the kid who didn't get invited to the birthday party. Like it upsets me how people are like, oh, it's just like his facade, you know, he's playing it up. Listen, you are your facade. You are that.
yeah.
Bruh. Like, you know what I mean? Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I never bought that argument. It's and people say like, oh, Lehman is the savage pretending to be a noble, and Lehman is the noble pretending to be a savage. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. If you read A Thousand Suns and Burning of Prospero, it doesn't work. It's
and perhaps
it doesn't make sense.
His greatest crime is that, unlike Moots, he doesn't know his Swedish lore as well. Just for the people listening, before we recorded, we were talking about we were getting the download on Swedish lore, and the fact that Leman Russ probably doesn't. I mean, like Fenris is. How Fenris is Sweden right now? Like, let's be honest.
I mean, right now, shit. Like, we had plenty of sun today. We had tiny bit of snow on the ground, but 2 days ago it was actually we had like 10 degrees.
So there's no like Kraken.
Fucking hell.
In like
no. Not that I haven't seen one in a while. I think they've migrated off to Norway or something.
Is there still beef between Sweden and like North? Is it still like up there? Like, was it Denmark and Sweden? They have like beef.
Well,
it's the Danes.
It's I don't know if it's like any official beef, but I mean I'll never pass on the opportunity to shit on some Danes. I'll be honest.
Yeah, avoiding a controversial topic. Let's go into that right now.
Astartes Anonymous are absolutely for shitting on your local Danes. Get it done, people.
This is it. We've put such a concerted effort into making sure that Astartes Anonymous and all the different sort of spaces and social medias associated with this channel are a really welcoming space for all people, unless you're from Denmark.
Unless you're from Denmark.
Yeah. I remember right at the start, we were talking about like the statistics and stuff we were getting, and one of the things was because Moot had access to the Twitter for ages. He built up this little sort of Swedish population there that was only on the Twitter.
Yeah. I'd go on the Twitter and I'd see him replying to things in Swedish from the official Astartes Anonymous Twitter.
Now, I would just want to reiterate that I I don't hate Danes because they're Danes. I don't hate them either. I just
here we go.
It's good backtrack. It's just that they fucked up the Kalmar Union. They fucked it up. We could have been great, but they fucked it up.
Make Sweden great again.
We could have been a great union, but no. The fucking Christian the Tyrannical had to march into Stockholm and just fucking commit the Stockholm bloodbath, execute everyone, and now we're here. Thanks, Danes. Thank you.
yeah, not starting on controversial topics.
Well, Moot,
Speaking history.
you should have been born several hundred years earlier and tried a little bit harder. You know, that's the only real answer to this. Anyways, shall we
if I was
move
them,
on
I'd tell them
to
that a lot differently.
Shall we move on to the models of the week? So, we have 2 this week, as per usual. One of them was selected by our lovely guest here, Hal, and Hal's pick is bloody good. Hal has actually gone for, once again, we're hosting the same guy again, Hal has gone for Tosdes.
This guy's arrogant.
I believe this is an intercessor.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry, brother.
I believe this is an Intercessor Sergeant by Tosdes. So, just for context, we actually hosted on the Models of the Week one of Tosdes' miniatures. I think like an episode or 2 ago. Actually, no, it was last episode.
Probably was actually.
It was the very last episode.
Son of a bitch.
What have I done?
So,
he
Tosde,
can't keep getting away with this.
But yeah, it's this wonderful Intercessor Sergeant, super grimdark. He's done the face brilliantly. The hammer and the gun, it's all lovely. The little red around the collar, and once again the lovely fucking chapter badge and the hammer.
Like
it's brilliant.
What I think is ridiculous is the effect he's made of like the shaved head, because like it's not just a bald head. You and me would know that, Tom. But it's like he's actually put in the effort of like making it, you know, having a different, a bit of a different coloring.
Like a buzz cut.
Yeah, it looks like a buzz cut. It looks great.
Yeah.
Actually, hold up. This is an important concept. Conversation. Amber King, are you bold? Yes or no? Answer the question.
No. But funny enough, the reason I actually chose this entry is because the simple fact is, let's be honest, brothers, you can tell by my accent, I've got that British hairline, if you know what I mean. I've got that Widow's Peak is that McDonald's M from a mile away.
Yeah, but I got the same fucking
I'm looking
thing.
at that model and that clean, like, it's short, but that clean hairline, and it was jealousy immediately. So, and there's, you know what I mean, respect to how great the model is done, but this is what they call hairline gap, isn't it? Like, it's just a skill issue. So
it's interesting because, you know, we get so much shit from Aaron about the bald thing, but like, you take one look at Aaron's hairline, and it's gonna rock him. It's gonna rock him so fucking hard when he joins us in a year or 2.
You say that just because yours goes to the fucking horizon and back, all right? I don't want to fucking hear that.
All these insults are fucking great because each one of them is just another fucking nail in his own coffin.
I mean, I will go to Turkey and come back with a weird headline, man. I'll buy the fucking implants.
I'd say, like, probably in a few years' time, my eyebrows and my hairline is social distancing. So, I mean, there's like the urge within just to like shave your head like that, like thin and that small, than just to like beef up in the gym and then get your life together. But we're into Warhammer, so it's just not going to happen. But it's fine.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Right, shall we move on to the second model of the week? So this one was picked by Moot. Moot, would you like to run us through this one?
Of course. It's a lovely bunch of dudes by Triangular Box. I just saw them and I was like, damn, I just really like this kit bashing. It really stood out to me for many different reasons. I mean, you just look at them and they look really cool in my opinion.
These are
Dragon
Spears.
Spears? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I like you, mate. Shit.
Possibly. Oh yeah, it is actually because the
Yeah, they are, yeah.
chapter
These are the guys
symbol
who-
on the left.
yeah, that's fucking cool.
These are the guys
One of
who
the
eat their
lesser
dead.
seen Sally's success. Well, it's the Salamandic's successors.
Oh, that's sweet.
The only thing I just want to say, Triangular Box, please give us more photos of these guys. I'd love to see these guys in a proper light box because I think they will look fucking nice as hell then.
God,
Yeah,
it's my
some
favourite colour as
individual
well.
pictures
Just
would
over
go
here.
a long way for sure. Because then we can get the proper posing out of all of them. Like that guy on the right looks incredible. I wish I could have more angles of just that fella.
For sure.
But no,
Gorgeous.
incredible work. Really, really, really wonderful stuff. I've just noticed there's a fucking gobbo on the end of the guy on the left spear.
He's holding on to his guts and for dear life, but
Yep.
Do you ever like looking at miniatures and then you think you've done well on your own, and then you see someone else's and you kind of go, I need to up my game because and you kind of need that like kick in the butt every once in a while. Just like, I mean, you need to be like, well, I'm just depressed. I'm going to cry into my anime pillow, or I could just pull myself out and get an airbrush.
fucking
Finally.
every time Tom and Red posts one of their kit bashes, I'm just reminded of like how much I should continue kit bashing because those two fuckers they do it well.
It's like when someone who knows Warhammer lore, but then they're more handsome than you, and it feels like unjust. In some capacity. Like, you don't deserve those two aspects.
The guy she tells you not to worry about.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah.
Some people just
Type of shit.
hog it, all of it. You know what I mean?
Fuck.
Sorry, I've brought the tone down a lot.
No.
But if it's a good time though, I can bring the tone up as if everyone's ready to dive into the trial of Magnus the Red. Is that one?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
The trial of Magnus first. But real quick, thank you, Tosdi. Thank you, Triangular Box. Those are excellent. Looking forward to seeing some more of them. So yes, let's move on to the main topic of this evening.
Thank you, brothers. Well, it begins with, stop, criminal scum. You have violated the law. Okay, first of all, I've got a few things just to go through here because I got to get some insults off my chest as we talk about Magnus the Red. And for people listening who are like new or don't really have sort of getting into Warhammer lore, Magnus the Red, Primarch of the Thousand Suns Legion, Magic Boy, kind of don't know what he is. Like, he's superhuman, like doesn't really relate to any other. He's a mystical creature. But I've got a few things I want to talk about. And first of all, there's just a list of insults I need to go through. I think I might have mentioned a few earlier, but I just want to know how the crew here feels about these. My first thoughts about him was Schrodinger's douchebag.
Yeah, I think that actually got more relevant as time went on. Like the later in the setting you go, the more relevant that insult gets.
Yeah, I thought that one is one of my favourites. He puts the oxy in moron. That's another one. Now this one might have to be bleeped, not because it's rude, but because it ruins your soul a little bit hearing it. He is sentient smegma.
My boy.
Setting the tone for this recording. Wow. If he was any dumber, I'd water him twice a week.
You sure that's not Lehman? You sure?
He's only useful for synchronized grinning. I'll have to think about that one.
I don't get it.
Think about it. He just grins at the time everyone else does. He's not with it. It's fine. Another one is, he's so ugly I can hear it.
Oh my god. Rob. Fucking hell.
Am I too stupid for these insults?
Maybe.
Hopefully the listeners will be like, what the hell is he on about? Almost done though. Last few favourite ones were, he's a wheezing bag of dick tips.
Yeah.
What the hell is that supposed to mean? What?
I fucking can't laugh without saying the next one. He looks like he moans when he wipes. Warhammer lore. It's about Warhammer lore, I promise. And the last one, he's essentially a Lego fleshlight.
Ooh.
Huh?
So I know, are there any favourites in that grouping? Before, again, this is not really the roast of Magnus, but it's the
You had fun writing these
lore.
down, did you?
This was actually from a list of like I had to shorten it. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Had to shorten it.
I used the one earlier, which like speeds through the warp so he can kiss his dad on the lips. So that one had to be used sacrificially as an intro, but it's all worth it though.
Oh, goodness.
But that's my intro. But first of all, we begin with the lore. This is obviously Astartes Anonymous. We're gonna drag your ankle first into this here. So my first sort of accusation about Magnus the Red is to do with his origins. So Magnus, like most of the Primarchs, Emperor wasn't paying child support, and so he yeeted them, or he didn't really yeet them, but Chaos technically, or Urda, we're not going into that, got yeeted across the galaxy and landed on the planet of Prospero.
Yep.
Now, the big thing I want to start with, which I kind of think is, is, again, not really his birth, that's not a crime, but it's on there. But his first crime, his first thing he ruined was how he unlocked his powers / how he developed himself. When he was on Prospero, he looked up to the cliff edge. He was found by humans, should say before that, and was like kind of semi-raised, not really raised by wolves kind of thing. Lehman Russ sucks. When Magnus...
Hell yeah.
That's the bingo, ladies and gentlemen.
when Magnus was looking to a cliff edge, as he was an adult at the age of 2.5, he saw a statue fall from this cliff edge, and he saw it smashed into shards. And kind of like how when what modern art is, where people get around and they gather and they look at something that's objectively hideous, but they sort of go like, "Oh wow, that's crazy! Wow." Like Owen Wilson about it, and he stared into the shards of the like broken statue, and he kind of saw the inner workings of it, and he realized that there's a bigger, deeper secret of the universe and how things was connected. He invited over his like goons and his mates, being like, "Wow, bro, like come check out these shards." And basically, there's a whole group of like bald blokes and a guy with a big red mane of hair staring at like a bit of broken statue. And just like they're all going like, wow, like. But the crime here is that who showed him this secret? Where did that come from? It was clearly not a normal source. And also, to finish off on this point, immediately as they're doing this, they get attacked by something called the Psychon or the Psychon, which are basically
the Psychonuine, yes.
Yeah, those little suckers like sort of. I don't know how to describe them. Like they're Xenos ghost things.
The Psychonuine are wasps.
Yeah.
They're giant psychic ghost warp vespid things that psychically put bug eggs in your brain.
It psychically impregnates your fucking mind.
Psychically impregnates your yeah.
So a weekend in Croydon. But essentially, they attack this like group, and Amon, like Magnus's tutor, is there. And like the Power Rangers, they somehow use this new forbidden law to sort of eviscerate these creatures, and they sort of, you know what I mean? They've dabbled in something. I don't want to know how how the group here feels about him staring at the modern art piece and essentially somehow magically gaining magical insight. How's that hit you, brothers?
Well, Your Honor, clearly what happened was that the statue was a metaphor for when his soul shattered. So clearly he gained some deep insight into the workings of the universe and the psychic powers, and he was like, yeah, I fucking see it, bro. And so that's how he fucking brain kamehameha'd the Psychonuine.
I don't think the what's the intro music for like CSI Miami, that didn't play at the same time. But I mean, I feel like this is one of those things where at no point did he question where this came from. It's like someone handing you like your test like sort of answers and going like, trust me, like, you go, oh, that's crazy, just like fell out of the air, like, wow, I'm okay. Yeah.
Now, I'm gonna have to say, me personally, I don't enjoy modern art. I don't see the point. But I mean, clearly, Clearly, Magnus is an enjoyer, and who am I to judge for his taste?
That's true. The next question is defend modern art. Anyone can.
Fuck, impossible.
It's like the the one with like the guy who strapped the banana to the wall in the museum, and then he took it off, ate it, and then put another one up, and then it cost more money. And they sold it. God, I love that stuff. That's point one necessarily. We've got a bit of a list to go through here. So, but then that's like a small crime. It's not too much.
Hold up, Your Honour.
Okay, yes. Pass it over.
No crime was committed.
Is that
No crime was committed. What?
Your Honour, no.
Your Honour, I request that the jury disregard the previous fucking statement. All right, this is irrelevant to the case.
That's just bullying at this point.
He's badgering my witness.
Your Honour, this is bordering on slanderous.
We should say, like, people who are listening as this is going on, like, put in the comment section, like, justifications, because straight up, let's put the copium, #copium, put it in the chat. We need it.
Defecation of character.
If the copium's
Hal, right now, I am the Chad Wojak, and you are the crying Wojak.
we will move on to point number 2, which is not quite as bad, but it's a bit naughty. The Emperor meets Magnus. Magnus himself has raised Prospero up to this, that culture, pretty tight. It's a tight culture, bro. Tight. Love it. Looking great. Nice pyramids. And it's a great reunion. Technically, Magnus and the Emperor had been communicating before. They had dial-up internet somehow. In the warp. So they knew.
Dial-up.
So, yeah. So they finally meet, and Magnus is like, this is the best day ever. He's not a deadbeat. He just wasn't around at the time because he couldn't get there. It's fine. I'm not upset at all. And they kind of are on Terra. Magnus does weird bits where like they sort of float around Terra in their like ghost, like soul form. And they kind of like hold hands, and it's like Aladdin, you know what I mean? A whole new world.
Strange thing to do with your dad, but sure.
It's okay. He did run to the warp so he could kiss it down the lips. So it is 100% justified.
That was them before they meet. That was like communication.
And when Magnus is speaking to his father is teaching him loads of things about the warp itself, its secrets, because Magnus is powerful beyond measure, and no other Primarch will be able to match him. But the Emperor tells him, do not delve too deeply into the warp. His father gives him a warning and tells him there are things you should stay away from. And later on, we'd find out he didn't do that. How do you justify that, Council?
Your Honour, the Emperor didn't say why.
True. But if someone tells you to put your seatbelt on, you know what I mean? Like, do you need to watch 3-hour YouTube clips of people, results of not wearing a seatbelt? Let's be honest.
If I told you not to go in the fridge, and you open the fridge, and there's a fucking landmine in the fridge, that's not on you for opening the fridge. Someone should have told you there's a landmine in the fridge.
No. You see, on Your Honor, a better example would be, what if someone tells you not to go into the fridge, but you open the fridge and you see it's full of goodies? I mean, are you just going to pass up on the goodies? I mean, they're there.
It's a
you
good
can just
point.
take them. Yeah. So, of course, you're going to reach in, you're going to dip your hands in that sauce. I don't know what the fuck.
Actually, Your Honour, Moots has a point, because if you are told to not pay for the hookers,
yo.
and you pay for the hookers, and you have a good time, and you come home and you've got nothing, obviously the hookers aren't that bad.
Wow,
Dad should have told him.
Is that official stance of Astartes Anonymous?
I'm just saying, Dad should have told him that if you go to the hookers, you'll catch something. I'm just saying.
He's going to catch his hands. It's a good point. And to be fair, Magnus, it brings up a good point in the law, because particularly the Emperor, as well as like, just for people who are listening, like warp power itself is like with anything with power, you kind of can get drunk on it. I imagine it very much affects Magnus in some way. The Emperor is, the guy is old. The man is, he's asking where the remote is, and he snores as loud as probably like that. It's an old meme now, even at the time of recording, but that, like, it's the one where someone's like, "Ha!" The meme with the snore. Like, the Emperor's that old, so he had the wisdom to not open the per se fridge. So, I'll concede on that point. I just thought it was a very small thing.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, because obviously, as the audience, it's very easy for us to understand that. But that's always the big sort of problem that people jump to about the Emperor, is that he doesn't trust anyone enough to provide proper context. Everything is on a need-to-know basis. Everyone is being fed just droplets of the actual full amount of information required. Magnus, being the warp-gifted red idiot that he is, he was going to go through that doorway irrespective, right? He was going to be fucking with warp stuff irrespective. If the Emperor was going to pick one son to trust with a little bit more knowledge of the space cocaine than any of the others, it should have been Magnus.
We should also mention, from a lore perspective as well, at this time, even Magnus, as like powerful as he is, the Emperor's not told any of the Primarchs about chaos or the chaos gods and stuff. So again, like, you could say ignorance is bliss, or ignorance is it's in another part of the lore. It's like ignorance is no defense. I think that's the Inquisition's line. Innocence is no defense. It's like similar to that phrase.
Something like that. Yeah.
So even like Magnus has only had a good experience with, I guess, quote unquote magic. So is a fair enough. I will concede in some regard, but the next point is just I just can't let go. I can't let go, brothers.
Oh, okay.
Well,
okay. Let's
Magnus, spicy red man, Schrodinger's douchebag, returns back to Prospero. This is the Great Crusader's dawning, and he needs to unleash his own genetic sons, the Adeptus Astartes, into the stars to build the Imperium of Man. But when he returns to Prospero, he finds, what has been sent from Terra to Prospero is a legion that's looking a little bit rough, because the legion is currently undergoing something called the Flesh Change. And for people listening, the Flesh Change is essentially where the psychic powers, well, we can't spoil too much about it, but the psychic powers within the Thousand Suns, it's strong, and basically 1 in 1,000 early on kind of got toasted, and they basically twisted into like warp spawn creatures. They were like, their flesh would literally mutate within their armor and like burst out the seams. And then eventually this started increasing, and then eventually all of them were sort of somewhat affected. The Thousand Suns literally became 1,000 suns, because only 1,000 of them left. And so Magnus returns and goes, I can't have that. That's horrible. How am I going to look to the rest of the Primarchs with my little, my little toddlers, my fat toddlers who are bursting out their armor? So Magnus delves into all the lore he has. He delves into the libraries hidden within Prospero itself, once accumulated over thousands of years, and he starts to interact with warp entities, things that he considers the warp just to be something like, it's not good or evil, it just is. And he makes a bargain with a warp entity, and he sacrifices his eye, gaining the knowledge and the power to stop the flesh change. But this will come at a cost. Bargaining with warp creatures, brothers, how do you defend that? I mean, horrible.
Your Honor,
he didn't know.
my boy was ignorant.
I'm gonna have to mention seatbelts one more time, I swear to God.
Your Honor, he really likes his sons. He's just a family man. Clearly, he cares deeply about his sons. I mean, he came there, he saw his little fat toddlers, and he was like, "Oh, you go," and but then he's like, "Oh fuck!" Every now and then, my fat toddlers turns into fat spaghetti monsters. I can't have that. And so he did what any loving father has to do, which is obviously bargaining with the fucking warp entity. It happens to the best of us, honestly. I mean,
Your Honor, if I may.
Go for it,
Sorry.
brother. Go for it.
Let me proposition you here for a second.
Oh,
Theoretically,
cheeky,
if you were to
brother.
find a genie, if you were to find a genie lamp, would you rob that bitch? Yes or no?
Oh, with what part of my body? Sorry, wait, what? I'm joking. Yes, to be fair, curiosity would probably get the best of me.
There you go. Point in case my boy's innocent.
Your Honour, you would have done it too. Clear the charge.
Hook, line, and sinker, buddy. Let's go. Right.
This trial really has the energy of, guilty say what? What, guilty? Guilty.
I think. Now, this might end up. I might end up getting some flack for this because I can already see the comments forming as this episode goes on. Of a bit of a habit of Tom's just going to be saying, "Oh well, it's all the Emperor's fault." But if good old Dad had actually educated Maggie a little bit better on the dangers of the fucking evil hole in space, then he might have known that bargaining with warp entities was a little bit
Spicy.
Well, I'm just saying, if my client is pleading ignorance, it doesn't seem like a bad defense at this stage, at least at this stage.
So I'm gonna add to work on that.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, now this is the fault of the so-called Emperor of Mankind because
Yep.
if he didn't want his son to dip his toes in the forbidden sauce of the fridge,
Dip his toes in the forbidden sauce. Yuck. Oh, God.
Then clearly he shouldn't have made the 1,000 Sons to turn into fucking awful spaghetti monsters every now and then. It's clearly this is a faulty product. This is
Honestly,
work
you're right.
of a bad fucking whatever he is. It's bad product simply.
Yeah.
All right, I'll back
get the Emperor on the stand.
I'll back off Red Maggie Thatcher there. And I mean, to be fair, the strong argument seems to be a bit Vin Diesel. It's all family, and family, love it. But the next accusation comes. Unfortunately, the Emperor is not involved in this next piece because
Okay.
the next accusation
that's a lie.
is the early Great Crusade. Magnus has saved 1,000 Sons. Recruitment is pumping. They're getting people out. There's a few Terrans there, but most of them are now Prosperans. They've launched the stars to join the Great Crusade. And Magnus starts to create something called the Book of Magnus. And the Book of Magnus is a secret tome filled with lore that he collects throughout the universe. And this is lore that he even states he knows the Emperor would probably be very upset with him gathering it. But Magnus, for his own character, it upsets him when things are lost. Like the idea of, what was it the 1,000 Sons say? The only sin is ignorance, they say. And the fact is, it's just knowledge, and it depends on how you use it. But very clearly, this forbidden lore will explain even much later in the storyline of the 1,000 Sons here. It would come to bite them hard in the arse. But even the existence of the Book of Magnus is forbidden within the Imperial sort of structure, and even though Emperor would be, he knows the Emperor will be upset. Then how could we justify the existence of the Book of Magnus?
Your Honour, I
think
think
of the Book of Magnus specifically.
just forbidden knowledge, right?
My honor. Have you read the Book of Magnus?
Only one person other than Magnus has read the Book of Magnus, and that is Ahriman. And he made perhaps the spiciest dust on his friends from that very book. So the fact is, only one person. I mean, to be fair, it could just be filled with his private anime drawings. We don't know. He seems like a guy who I've learned very recently probably uses 4chan, which I didn't know very much about 4chan before this recording. I've now been enlightened.
That is the Book of Magnus.
I just know one reference. It's probably all green text. But no one, as to answer the question, no one else other than Magnus and Ahriman have really read the Book of Magnus.
Your Honor, if I may be so bold, I would say that at this point in the proceedings, with the knowledge that has been put forward, my client actually hasn't yet committed a crime. I'm not saying that he hasn't got a gun loaded with bullets. However, at this point in the proceedings, my client has yet to commit any crime with this. Does he have a gun license? No, but he should not be sentenced to death for not having a gun license. I'm just saying.
God, I really need Red here to help with the license carrying.
For all intents and purposes, let's say this is based in the UK. Majority rule.
Magnus of the UK.
A TV license.
Bro, we're about to fine you so hard for not having a TV.
Alright, you parked your Gloriano on a double yellow, mate. That's a big fucking fine.
I mean, that's going to remind me of who's the guy that there's a British YouTuber who makes he did a video on obscure British laws that he broke in public. And I wonder if we could just add Book of Magnus to carrying the Book of Magnus is a registered weapon. You know what I mean? It's again, Skyrim reference here. Is it the Sheogoraths? Is it Jigalag? No, not Jigalag. It's the
Jigalag?
No, not Jigalag. Yeah, what's the staff? The staff that you get in the Sheogorath questline.
The Wabberjack.
The Wabberjack, sorry. Is essentially, the Book of Magnus is a Wabberjack of books. So you could technically turn someone into a chicken, invert them rear side inside out, or possibly even make someone fall in love. It's just too strong and he shouldn't have it. That's...
No, you're absolutely right. My client admits that he shouldn't have been in possession of it. However, at this point in the proceedings, he had done nothing wrong with it. He shouldn't have had it. But, sometimes, shit just happens.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a good defense, actually.
It's a fair point.
Shit just happens is not a good defense.
It's more of a collector of forbidden knowledge, not so a practitioner. Big difference.
What I think my defenders here are saying is what they're missing is that we don't know what's in the book. It's clearly or from what we know, it does not contain anything malicious at all. This is clearly pure speculation on the part of the on the part of the accusers, and this, as far as I can tell, this is pure slander, straight through.
I guess the real question is, for even the listeners, would you have a book in your house that could possibly turn your family to dust? Depends, I like my weekends. We won't judge. But, that one is not perhaps the worst, but we're going to, on a slightly lighter note, though, which is point number 5, it's Zumi genocide. So on the world of the Morning Star, this was during the early Great Crusade. Him and Magnus and Perturabo have met up. They did a bit of docking. They hugged. It was very romantic.
Docking!
Excuse me. They didn't, for the lore buffs, they didn't actually do that.
I don't remember that part of the book.
Jesus fucking... What the fuck?
God, people are staying awake for this episode.
Yeah, they are.
Perturabo of the Iron Warriors, Mr. Machine Man, basically himself, they meet up on the world of Morningstar. The world of Morningstar is essentially breaking apart. The planet's core is unstable, and literal whole continents are shifting and breaking. Cities are burning. So these two legions have come to try and rescue the population of millions. Apparently, it only Perturabo and his genius, quote-unquote, genius mind could organize such a amazing evacuation. This will get worse. And the reason that this planet is breaking apart is due to a kind of demon psychic wound thing called Shaitan. Shaitan was created during the Age of Strife, I think it is, in lore. The Age of Strife is basically when all the psychos basically went, I hate people, and they ruined things. And the population at the time on Morningstar, they basically shoved all these people into an old Terran ship, one thousands of year old, and They essentially extracted the psychic soul from people. And it was a horrible thing to go through, but it managed to save the population because they didn't have like a psychic outburst or demons didn't appear. But all these wounded people created this entity called Shaitan. Shaitan's the reason the planet is breaking apart. Magnus thinks he could battle it, save the planet. It doesn't go well. He kind of ends up almost losing to it until he seals it within the Book of Magnus. And the problem is that this entity can possess people. And in Magnus's attempt to seal it, he created a problem where the entity split and it started to infiltrate and possess members of the refugee population. So after all of Perturabo's hard work, Magnus, after his victorious battle, goes up to Perturabo and says, listen, you know those refugee ships? He went, yeah, you know the one we spent like months rescuing? Yeah, I need you to glass it. He ordered him to blow up the entire shit so that the demon of Shaitan could not spread to other worlds. How do you defend
Your Honor,
that?
you know, that's a valid reaction to a bad situation. The book acted on its own. He was just doing damage control, okay?
I think honestly, I think my co-defender here is actually not far off the mark, to be honest, because how is he to know? He did his best. Perturabo, stoic as ever, did his best. Magnus did his best, rather, heroically. How could he have known? In fact,
The direct
actually,
consequence of him sealing this creature, he didn't have to seal it. The reason he sealed it within the Book of Magnus was so that he could keep it.
oh well, I mean that's
Because he didn't want to destroy another piece of knowledge, a repository of genius and sort of excellence and power within the universe. Because again, he's a preserver of knowledge, not refugees, apparently.
Your Honor, if Perturabo was paying better attention to Magnus, this wouldn't have happened.
He was just doing a public service, trying to maintain knowledge and history.
I'm just saying, this sounds like it was Perturabo's fault.
It's not my fault, Judge. My friend should have stopped me. It's aggressively mid as a defense, let's be honest.
No, this is really a big case of malicious compliance, alright? This is all it really fucking is.
I'm just saying, Your Honor, if I'm sat at the wheel, right, of my car, and my friend's sat next to me, the engine's not turned on. We're just sat in the car, right? I'm at the driver's seat, he's sat next to me, engine's off, and my friend looks at me and he goes, damn man, you're drunk as fuck. And I go, yeah, watch this. And I start the engine, and my friend doesn't stop me. I'm sorry, but he's kind of to blame as well. At least 40% blame is on Perturabo here. I'm just saying,
This
at
is kind
least
of like
40%.
it's just like the thing where if you don't pull the lever and change the track for the train, you can pull the lever and save more people, sort of thing.
The train in this case is the Book of Magnus.
Your Honor, you're right. My client did fuck up. However, Perturabo is also to blame.
I mean, and also from if you were perhaps messed up in the brain, he's low-key a hero for stopping the spread of a demon.
He made the best of a bad situation. By the time you were reading out that last bit there, all I could say was, wow, Magnus is doing the best he possibly can here. He's helping everyone.
God,
Really, we should actually be condemning Perturabo for his failure and rewarding Magnus for his actions, to be honest.
I can feel my resonant
I agree. I concur.
Iron Curtain countries begging for defense lawyers like this. The copium is strong. It's so strong. It's actually, fair. There's I should mention a very cool part of the lore as well. Mm-hmm. There's a part where Shaitan in the book sabotages one of the refugee ships, and this is before the end of the book, and Magnus rushes out and he gathers his 1,000 sons to him, and the ship is about to land on an entire city, and the 1,000 sons gather in this massive ritual, and they basically hold up an entire warship, and it's said when this happens in the lore, even Perturabo and the Iron Warriors just stare at it in awe. But also, only Ahriman survives it because the rest of the 1,000 Sons apparently turn to dust in their armor. So I was because Magnus had drained them of so much power, but it cost a few dozen psychers of 1,000 Sons to save a whole refugee ship, which eventually he would then smear into paste later. So feels a bit bad.
Well, I mean, you're right. It's a shit situation, but he made the best of a shit situation.
Oh, well.
The Thousand Suns lost aren't a big deal. It was in their contract they might get turned to dust.
He's right. They signed up for this. He's absolutely right. This was in the contract. He's absolutely correct. This was 100%. They knew they were in for this.
That's fair, that's fair. The defense is, well, I don't want to say strong, but it's passionate.
fucking out of character. I've like been sitting here like I have not been able to make up a single fucking argument to justify this fucking thing.
That's right, because criminal scum, he's violated the law. Now my horse is going to drown. I need my horse armor DLC right now. Right now. Speaking of horse DLC copium, the next point is taking place on the world of Ugru. This is late into the Great Crusade. The Thousand Sons of Magnus have been battling across worlds for over 100 years at this point. Thousand Sons numbers are finally like built up. You know, they're pretty impressive as well. Just a quick note here. Thousand Sons are like, just as like a marine on marine level, just them being a Psycho, they are just one-on-one, they could probably beat any other legion at this point. Because their powers are like, there's even a point where they talk about in one book, like some of the Sons of Horus battle with them, and like some of the Thousand Sons, like they float up to like different levels, and then like a squad's basically worth an entire unit of Sons of Horus. So they're pretty impressive. And on this world of Agru, by the way, this world Agru, it's described as hot as like it's so hot, even the Thousand Sons are sweating in their armor, and they're having to use their magic to like cool them down constantly. But then when some Space Wolves arrive, the Space Wolves don't sweat, and they're covered in furs, and they're basically like, what the hell is wrong with them? That is weird. On this world, I can't not include it, Magnus actually does battle like an Eldar Titan at one point. It almost glasses him, and like all the Thousand Sons...
so he does.
Like the Thousand Sons like almost like cry, like, oh my god, like my whole Primarch just died in front of me, and he went, psych, and he rose up again, and like just destroyed it. But they arrive
in a good deed.
Yeah,
on the record.
They arrive at this top of this mountain, and the mountain has been a source of corruption on this world. Something's wrong with this world. And when they finally reach the top, they find what is like this like dark mist, and within it is a demon. And Magnus battles this demon while some Thousand Sons and for some reason Space Wolves were involved in this part of the story, just to show off how not hot they were in their fur armor.
Sure.
They battle on like these sort of tentacles. Again, think of 4chan for some reason. I feel like that vibe's there. And when Magnus is conversing with this demon is taunting him, telling him like, haha, you've been manipulated your entire life. And Magnus goes, that's not true. Show me your secrets. You're just a warp thing. And he gleams a network, a pathway, something that leads directly to the walls / the psychic barriers of terror. Now, the crime here I'm discussing is Magnus gets this information from a demon. He's trusting a demon, and it's something that's clearly... He's not thought, wow, why is this creature like implanting this information, or why is it allowing me to see this? He's not questioned it. He's again just thought, information's information, guys. It's no problem. But how could he put his faith and / trust in a creature of the warp like this, and then be like, yeah, I'll keep that to myself as well, because no one else should know that? How do you justify that? Yeah, right. That's what I thought. Yeah.
Your Honor. Clearly, he needed it for later on in his career.
Oh god.
You're on. Sorry.
You first, Aaron, please.
Your Honor.
Loki, please help. That's a hard one to justify, but I mean,
no, it's not. But I'm letting them go first. No, it's not. I'm letting them go first.
I'm ready. My body's ready.
Aaron.
Oh, I thought we went for Moots. No,
I already said my piece.
Magnus was clearly just asking for the way home because he was lost, and the demon had the information he wanted, so he was just giving him directions back home.
This ain't no Macaulay Culkin.
Crime here
this ain't
was
no
done.
Home Alone. You know what I mean? This is like him asking the robbers inside the house, being like, "Come on in." Yeah, anything. How could one possibly justify that?
Now clearly, now I figured out. Clearly, the Space Wolves present agitated my client.
Oh my
It was Lehman Russ!
It was Lehman's Russ's fault. I have no further comments.
It's a good. I would like to ask a quick question here. Do you guys have like your most hated Legion out of like, or not necessarily Primarch, but like hated Legion? Because generally, like
Space Wolves.
I like 30k Space Wolves, but 40k Space Wolves just seem like the like caricature to me, and I never quite like get into it. Like, what do you guys kind of not gel with?
I don't think I hate any of them. There's some that I prefer to others, but I don't think there's any that I hate. I think I think, although it's worth saying, if Red were here, he would have just interrupted you to say Dark Angels.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No. I'll throw in Dark Angels. I forgot about them. Fuck them.
I'm gonna say I don't hate them. I just don't actually know a whole lot about them. Which actually me, Aaron, Red, and Tom had this discussion yesterday. The Death Guard. I just don't really. I just don't really know much about them, and they don't. Mostly, also because of Mortarion, I just don't find them super interesting necessarily.
Oh, this is unfortunately where my copium hits the strongest. I actually kind of like
your house
Mortarion.
Oh,
Shout out to Arthur Bones when he did the big collab, because I chose Mortarion to defend as a character. And because I like on my channel, like I have to read every single piece of lore on a character generally. Like I've read every book Mortarion's been in, and it's one of those things where it's like Ferrus Manus in that sense, where like it's annoying how good bits of his lore are like trapped within short stories. So it's hard to, like when I did the Ferrus video, a lot of it was like I'd never even heard of this crap before. Like where's this been? Mortarion's like good character development is the fact that he's a hypocrite. Like no one, like the fact that no one else in Warhammer is like, oh my god, I'm living in hypocrisy, and Mortarion's like, I kind of know I am, but I'm just gonna do it anyway. Because like not to get too into modern life, like real life, but most people, if everyone's even turned on their TV and watch politics, you kind of go, you don't really believe what you're saying. So I just like the fact that he's actually I enjoy the fact I get to hate on him because he's so damn wrong. And he kind of like, I know I'm wrong, but I can't do anything about it, so I'm gonna just yell as loud as I can at the TV.
I see what you mean. Because I mean, we're getting way off topic here, but I mean, it's
yeah.
I don't mind. Like
Well, actually, this is kind of fair. This is the most on topic we've been in an episode in a while.
That's true. That's true. No, but I think I would enjoy Mortarion if I just read into him a bit. But I do like that he is such a hypocrite, because it's funnily enough, like it gives him some character depth. Like it's the character depth that I know about him. It makes him unpredictable, scummy, and untrustworthy. Because and I mean, hey, that's a good trait to have in a villain character. So on that note, I think fucking kudos. He's fucking great.
To be fair, there is one thing I really enjoy about Mortarion. It's a tiny thing. It's barely even a lore thing, but it's there. I feel like this is the right time to bring it up. I love his portrayal in Chaos Gate.
Oh, good game. Yeah.
It's such a tiny little. His presence is so tiny, but he's such a Skeletor style character in that game, right? Like a genuine dead ass Saturday morning cartoon villain in that game, and I just find something about that to be so endearing. I know that's not reflective of the deep lore and the Horus Heresy or even the fucking Plague Wars, but there's just something about his portrayal in Chaos Gate that just makes me smile, because he's such a fucking. There's something so simplistic about him, you know.
That's quite wholesome, but my favorite thing is he smells like ass from like a 3-mile radius. And the fact that
so
sad. Like, people are just sorry, it's such a twist. But like in lore, the idea of like presence, like being in the presence of something, like people will talk about, like, you know, oh, you see a Primarch and you nut or you kneel or whatever, but like, Mortarion,
Or
both,
you
I don't
nut, or you kneel. Is that what you just... Which Primarch do you see in you nut?
I mean, to be fair, I'm sorry bringing up your next series of Nut or Kneel on Astartes Anonymous.
You've heard of Smash or Pass. Now get ready for nut or kneel.
A Primarch series delving into each one 3 hours apiece.
I don't know how I came up with that. Moving back to on topic, we're almost at the end of the Great Crusade. The last part...
Hold on, I didn't give my...
sorry, give your reasoning.
My ass.
It's very obvious. It's very obvious why my client is not guilty. He was being influenced by a outside source. You know,
Fair point. It's a fair point.
you said it yourself. This was a demon who was so powerful he could stand toe to toe with Magnus, right? You know, or at least invade his brain. Not only was he influenced by, an alternative source, it happened non-consensually. You know, I'm just saying that at the very least, I'm just saying this is what we in the business call an enterprise, right? You got to at least sentence the demon here as well, right? And if the demons and warp creatures are as bad as you say they are, we have to acknowledge, Your Honor, that Magnus has no blame in this.
It's fair. I mean, that kind of boils down to, no offense, Your Honor, but that's cap, which I'm okay with. Low key, for real. But moving on to the last point of the Great Crusade, which was an event in the Arc-Reach cluster. The Space Wolves and Thousand Suns have to do a joint compliance. It's kind of going well. The, Lorgar and his word bearers are kind of there. Good old Lorgar, choir boy. And the world is being destroyed. Sorry, made compliant. Excuse me, turn the phrase. And Magnus, well, the world's ordered to be destroyed for their heretical beliefs and ideals. But Magnus stops in front of their library and go right in the Space Wolves' territory and line of fire and just goes, "This is mine." The Space Wolves start going, "All right, brother." They weren't coherent. They were just what's the from Futurama? They're basically like Richard Nixon impression sort of thing. I always think of like Richard Nixon. They're running up and they basically make a shield wall. They don't draw their weapons, funny enough. And it's a really cool moment in the lore where the Thousand Suns sort of assemble before Magnus and they make like a psychic shield wall and the two like clash together. It's a test of wills. The Thousand Suns are kind of winning, and then one of his sons, Magnus' sons, called Hastur, I think it's believed, he essentially starts to go, "I don't feel so good. Oh no." And he starts to go, he starts to get like a bit chunky baby. And he starts to burst out of his armor and the flesh change has come back. And Magnus is like, "Oh crap. The deal I made with that entity, it's clearly not working." And then Russ shows up, shoots the Marine dead, and Magnus goes, "That was my thing. You weren't supposed to do that to my thing, my son." Almost starts like Imperium Civil War there, until good old choir boy Lorgar steps in the middle and goes, doesn't have any hair because he's got, every evil character in Warhammer is basically bald for some reason. Don't know what they're trying to imply with that. But he waves his non-existent hair and he just goes, "Start, please, start." Like he just stops them in the middle of their fight. But the crimes here is the fact that Magnus clearly defies Imperial directives, almost starts a war within itself, going against compliance, battling Space Wolves, using magic to the point where the flesh change re-emerges, so the sacrifice he made doesn't work, his sons are at risk, and he almost killed Lehman Russ.
Right.
Defend.
Your Honor, Magnus learnt a valuable lesson here. This was a really great learning opportunity and actually, if he was given the chance, a lot of the previous crimes we were talking about could actually, have been, in retrospect, other great learning opportunities. See, the thing is, the real problem here, it comes down to one thing, and that's actually Lehman Russ. You see,
That's a
let's
very
say-
strong defense. Just saying Lehman Rust. Like, I actually agree.
let's say you and I we're like cooking together, right? We're doing a little cook-off.
Are we holding
Yeah.
hands? Oh, what? Sorry.
We can hold hands. I don't mind. I don't mind.
Can I be there as well? I also want to hold hands.
Yeah, you can hold my other hand.
have to
That's
hold
fine.
hands. Do more than that.
So,
Wait, what?
well, because you guys are holding my hands, right? And we're having this cook-off. Because you guys are holding my hands, I can't really use my hands. So, you guys end up making these really lovely cakes or whatever. And I make a cake, but my cake is burnt and horrible. And it's like, oh, that's unfortunate. But then Lehman Russ comes along, who is Moots in this example. He takes my cake and he throws it against a fucking wall.
Yeah, because it was a shitty cake. Fuck you.
Yeah. It was my cake.
But is it now like
But because
modern
he's
art?
taken my cake and he's fucking given it the bloody John Cena treatment, I am now unable to take away from this. I'm now emotionally, mentally, and traumatically inclined to go, actually, Lehman Russ is to blame. And Lehman Russ is to blame because he took my cake and he threw it against a fucking wall.
Well, your fucking cake shouldn't have grown tentacles and start sporting extra
It's
sets
my
of
cake!
eyes.
I can do what I want with it!
I'll take my cake and fuck it too, alright?
I'm too distracted by the thought of Tom in just the cooking apron. But it's a very strong defense there. Nothing else can enter my mind other than that.
I'm just saying, Lehman Russ is to blame here. This isn't like the Perturabo thing where it was partially, I'm saying this could have been an opportunity for huge amounts of positivity in Magnus's life and outlook and behavior, and Lehman Russ turned it into a negative scenario. Lehman Russ is 100% to blame.
Yeah, look,
Outside influence, Your Honor.
See,
I feel so like I'm a compromised jury as well, just because the fact that Lehman Russ is mentioned, I can't think of anything else other than terrible Primarch. So,
Exactly.
like him existing in the room, it just makes it his fault.
Yeah, I mean, Your Honor, you actually mentioned about a few minutes ago, you actually mentioned that Lorgar was there, right?
I did.
And I choose to believe that you're a smart man and you didn't mention that for nothing.
It's a terrible belief.
Lorgar could have done something about it as well. And Lorgar didn't. So,
A bit late,
I'm just
wasn't it?
saying.
It's a bit late. To be fair, yeah. I mean, and also, I guess defending a library, how is that controversial? How
I mean,
could
it's
that?
books. Lehman
books.
had set his sons up to stir the pot. Mm-hmm. He was being antagonistic, and Magnus did his best. And then when Magnus did his best and it wasn't enough, Lehman dug the knife in even further. It's
you know
Lehman
what
Russ's
I think?
fault.
You know what I think? I think Lehman Russ planted the library there.
Oh, goddamn!
I think it was a ploy. I think he did it to try and set up my client.
Yes.
Well, I feel like there's a lot of focus on the library and not enough on the flesh change part there.
No. We don't talk about that. This all right. We had the cake analogy, and we threw that out the window. All right. It's let's go back and focus on Lehman Russ and the plantation of the
Plantation. Anyone
of the library.
You would
the
like to
library.
rephrase that?
The planting. That's the word I was looking for. The planting of the library.
It's his second language, everybody. Leave him alone.
Yes, I'm trying.
The Swedish are innocent. It's fine. I mean, and also as like from the lore part within it, it's quite sad because the Marine like Hasta is still kind of sentient as this like mewling mess of a monster. He's like begging, he's like, "Help me, father," and then just crack, the gun goes off, and it's like Lehman Russ standing there, and Magnus looking at your brother like killing your son is kind of like just sets me the wrong way. I mean, for most people, they might not feel that great about it. I don't know about you guys, but yeah, he probably has strong feelings about doing that, especially in front of him. In front of him,
Your
go ahead.
Your Honor, what you're describing is a murder on Magnus's family.
I mean,
This is again back round to being Lehman Russ's fucking fault.
He literally committed murder.
I mean,
Literally a murder.
it's a view.
Heresy, even.
Could be putting that thing out of its misery. So, you know,
Who's to say Magnus, in his almighty Book of Magnus, didn't have a cure for it at this point? He could have just turned him back like that, boom. But then Lehman came along and went, fucking fuck that.
Yeah, your honor. Lehman Russ clearly ended my client's son's mewing streak. Okay, he was.
This is like the most I don't want to get into any like political topics, but like there's like an anti-vax kind of theme to this in some kind of way and tone. So we won't dive too much into that, but everyone could probably see the links there because it's kind of like. But to be fair, it's a decent defense. Just saying Lehman Russ has almost changed my mind. But now we move on to the next point, which is sort of near the end of the Great Crusade and the heresy is around the corner. That this is where basically magic or psychic powers throughout the Imperium and the Great Crusade has been used without limits. But over time, there's been a building like council and a building opposition, particularly by Mortarion, smelling man, and Lehman Russ, man who barks at you and your in-laws. And they've been building like an anti-psychic. Because the use of psychic powers in the Imperium obviously has fought many battles, but humanity, particularly in the law at this point, many cultures have been scarred by the use of psychic powers. They've been ruled by tyrants, or they've seen like people being possessed by psychic powers. And Russ and Mortarion essentially say to the Emperor, and the wider Imperium, like the administration, like thousands of people, they're going, this thing is horrible. The fact we don't control it, there's no laws on this, only tyrants use magic. And they all look at Magnus and then go, they literally want to vomit in their mouths. They hate Magnus like quite a lot. And so to combat this, Psychon, Sanguinius, and Magnus, though very reluctantly Magnus, they want to create something called the Librarius, which is sort of a code/ethics, almost like the Codex Astartes for people who are maybe more newer to Warhammer lore. And a codex of how to use psychic powers. And you're thinking, why would they do that? In a way, it's to give themselves rules that they create, people who are pro-psyker, and so that they have the most amount of freedom within an ordered structure. And this is where they would enter to the Council of Nicaea, because this great question had to be answered. Can psychic powers be allowed to continue? One side we've said, Mortarion, Lehman Russ, and ordinary humans. Other side, Sanguinius, Psychon, Magnus. And the Council of Nicaea... I'm going to rant about this because it's so cool in the lore. The Council of Nicaea, obviously there's a real history link there, but in the lore, it takes place inside like a dead volcano, and like the whole scene like glitters. I actually had some artwork made for this. It's the one where Magnus looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
No, I've seen it. It's actually amazing. It's actually glorious. So, can you dump that in the references channel so I can put that on the screen right now?
Let me put that in podcast referencing there. Because I remember when I was having this one created, though, I have a great artist who I work with, and this guy, his name is T-Bot. I had to shout him out because he's so good. I basically was expecting like a more like distant image look of it, and when he sort of came up with this like Magnus the Red, I was like, oh my god, this is for the brothers here. Sorry, it's quite a large file, so it'll take a while to ping in there.
I've seen it before, and
you might have seen it.
It's funny because I think this is one of these pieces of art that just like instantly just became iconic. I think most people like associate this image to when they think about the Council of Nicaea.
This is two things. This is one, categorically the best image of the Council of Nicaea. It is
the only, by the way. I actually looked it up. It's the only one. I was like, "There's no Council of Nicaea." How?
Really?
Damn it! Well, the other time I made the video. It is
also categorically the best image of Magnus ever.
Mm.
Like I'm not gonna lie, he kind of fucking sexy.
What is it they call it in like?
He kind of fucking sexy.
I don't know,
I'm not gonna lie.
Rick and Morty, but like, is it cum gutters they call it?
Fucking hell.
Quite cursed. Apologies for even mentioning that. But so getting onto the crime here, basically, before they go on to defend themselves at this Council of Nicaea, Magnus sort of loses control of his powers a little bit because he's kind of freaking like the F out. And Ahriman, his like loyal puppy Ahriman, accidentally like gleams information from his mind, and he sees that to cure the flesh change, Magnus made a deal with this entity, and the bargaining chip was he sacrificed Ahriman's twin brother to gain that knowledge. And so the big crime here is basically, yo, you low-key sacrificed my family? Why?
Now, Your Honor, Your Honor. It's because it's clearly now. I mean, Magnus can do whatever he wants his son because it's his sons. So, therefore, if they didn't want to be randomly sacrificed at any point in time, then they shouldn't have joined the Thousand Sons. It's just
in the contract.
Yeah, it's just in the contract. Clearly, they didn't read the fine print, and honestly, I think it's his own fault, really, that he put himself in that situation where he could be sacrificed.
To be fair, Your Honor, if we actually, because we're in this position, we can actually look 10,000 years into the future, and you can actually see how much of a shitbag Ahriman is. Now imagine if there were two of Ahriman. I'm just saying, Magnus not only was well within his rights to do that, he actually, in the long run, did a huge, huge service for everyone. He deserves praise for that.
It's a shame because Ahriman's one of my favourite characters, so that hurts.
Oh no, I think he's a great character. He's also a dirtbag.
Exactly, I love it. He's such a coward and a he's the worst, and I love it. I like characters who are like fundamentally broken, and Ahriman's fundamental flaw is that he just doesn't give up. But like in the sense of like, I'll do whatever it takes, as in underline, bold, whatever it takes to save his brothers, and that gets pretty spicy for modern Imperium, though. I will say as well, like during this lore bit as well, like Magnus was very upset that Ahriman kind of stands up to him and said, like, what have you done? And it's the only time he ever saw Magnus angry. He's like towering over him, and he basically says, like, shut your whore mouth, you little rat. Like, don't question me. And because it's more of a Magnus is angry that he got caught. He's he's upset he got caught out. And I mean, how do you defend your client's reaction there? It's pretty horrible.
A circle back to what Moot said, Ahriman is his property.
Oh, jeez. That is not, in fact, endorsed by Astartes Anonymous. I'm saying that.
No. See, Your Honor, it's when someone else kills Magnus' sons, it's family. But when he does it, it's okay? It's all part of the greater plan.
It's the same as when British people constantly complain about Britain and the weather, but if an American comes here and does it, they're probably going to get stabbed.
It is
exactly the same thing.
It is our shithole, so...
Yes, it's our shithole to do with as we will.
Listen,
in the same sense that Ahriman's brother was Magnus's thing to do with as he would.
And is this one of those, he sort of one sacrifice to save many, would you counter with as well?
I mean, in the long run, he did everyone a service. Imagine if there was two Ahriman running around. Jesus fuck.
Oh, there would have been.
Ahriman.
Oh, Ahriman. Ahriman. That would have sucked.
That would have sucked great balls of fire. But unfortunately, the next one is perhaps more of an art crime. As much as we said, like, the allegory, like, sort of analogy earlier of, like, throwing the cake at the wall sort of thing. But yeah, that could be modern art. It could be modern art. But Magnus would then go on to this like grand, like, it's like literally a full Colosseum to deliver his speech. The Emperor, we'll probably have it up on the visuals as well, but for the audio listeners only, there's like Magnus looking glorious in his artwork, and the Emperor of Mankind sits on like a distant throne, kind of like a shining star. Magnus would go on to deliver a roaring speech after basically the other side, like Lehman Russ and Mortarion's side, went, because they were like, that guy makes sense, but he smells he smells like the inside of a colon. Like, it's horrible. So, I mean, like, you can't really believe what he says. Then Magnus would go deliver this, like, rousing speech, and essentially the speech is just like the allegory of the cave, but the big crime, I think, here is that he actually changes the ending. So, for people listening, most people probably know the allegory of the cave is the guy leaves the cave, and then his eyes adjust to sunlight. But when he goes back into the cave, he tries to tell people about the sunlight, but they kill him because out of fear. And it was obviously to do with like a symbolism of ignorance. Magnus changed the end of the speech and basically said, the guy came back in, and then everyone just rejoiced because he was like, wow, I love all this new information. It's to basically say, he basically puts himself as like, he's the one who has left the cave. He knows all these things about like psychic powers, and he just wants to bring all that good Gluck 3000 back to you. That Gluck 3000 knowledge. And that's like one crime, the fact that he ruined that ending. The big crime here is like the Emperor, at the end of all these speeches, he looks over to Magnus and peers into his mind. And he basically sees everything that Magnus has done throughout the Great Crusade. And every like rule he broke, every entity he sort of, conversed with, his Book of Magnus, his powers, like the saving of the Thousand Suns. And he goes, and Magnus basically goes, trust me, I had reasons, bro. And he is condemned, and this sort of creates the banning of psychic powers throughout the Imperium. The Council of Nicaea rules against Magnus. The defense here is like, his big crime is the fact of everything he's done so far, and obviously ruining the allegory of the cave. How do you defend ruining, I guess, well, not modern art, but ancient art, and the Emperor just basically sort of showing his entire search history?
You see, he was probably the one who, in the story, killed the guy who saw sunlight.
Wow.
So, clearly he's biased, and because he thinks, oh man, this fucker wrote fanfics of my story, and he fucking ruined it. And so, clearly he has it out for my client, and which is obviously why he then invaded his mind, which is a total breach of privacy. And
wow.
I do not stand for anything.
It was
that
a
the
form
Emperor
of
lays forth.
That breach of privacy was absolutely, quite literally, a form of non-consensual penetration.
Jesus Christ! Wow.
I would once again like to call the Emperor to the stand.
In fact, actually, Your Honor, the Emperor's big issue here is that Magnus is doing two things. One, he is keeping secrets, and he is making deals with warp entities. Your Honor, I'd like to tell you one thing the Emperor is good at doing and ask you another. The one thing I'd like to tell you is he is good at keeping secrets. The thing I'd like to ask you is, how did the fucking Primarchs end up scattered across the galaxy?
Oh, that's easy. The law writers had like a book deal thing they needed to make, something called the Horus Heresy. and they're kind of like, they're like a bit locked in, you know what I mean? So I blame Dan Abnett. It's Dan Abnett.
All I'm saying, Your Honor, is the Emperor of Mankind, beloved by all, of course,
Beloved by all.
is in fact to blame. And is a hypocritical bastard. And has almost certainly done everything Magnus has done, and worse. In fact, this should really have been the moment where this actually was the moment. The Emperor was like, okay, now I need to choose whether to double down and hide the piss straw, or actually help Magnus expand his own.
Hide the piss. Wow.
And he's hidden the piss straw, man, and now Magnus is exposed, so the Emperors can stay hidden.
God,
The Emperor was just covering his own tracks, Your Honor.
Literally, yeah.
Where's the fairity in that?
It's a very good point, because to be fair, in law, the Emperor, as we mentioned earlier, like he warned Magnus, was one of my points earlier, he warned him of not delving too deep, because of the fact that the Emperor himself had delved too deep into the mysteries of the warp. So it's a very, it's a very good point.
So I would like to expand upon that point.
Go for it.
He warned him. He never told him. He set a guideline, not an order. There was no line drawn in the sand.
Yep.
That's the Emperor's fault for not clarifying enough.
100%.
Even without giving enough detail, he could have said, "Don't do that."
Yeah.
It's kind of like
you're fucked.
Someone draws a line. Your dad draws a line and says, "Don't cross that line." You cross it, and someone punches you in the face at full force. And you go, and then you go.
He didn't do that.
I mean, it wasn't good enough warning. It didn't say, the line comes with throat punch.
Mortarion didn't get punched in the face at all. He did great. Honestly, I think this is one of those situations, Your Honor, where we have to actually look at the other parties involved and assign blame accordingly.
I would like to get child safety services.
Yes,
on the phone to have Magnus taken away from the Emperor's care.
I concur.
It's true. To be fair, they might have been upset by the fact that a child was yeeted across the galaxy and was probably full on rocketed into a planet. Usually, most people are not quite parenting like that these days. It's a bit controversial, but that's a kind of it's a modern thing. But that's it's a fair enough defense. Like the Emperor's, as much as Magnus's hunger for knowledge is his downfall for a lot of this, the Emperor should have had a better hold. If you don't know your child's going to be like that, you're not a good enough parent, to be fair, isn't it?
This is the thing, though. The Emperor, you could totally understand how the Emperor could have a hard time empathizing with a lot of his sons. I mean, try empathizing with Mortarion or Perturabo. That's not fucking happening. But Magnus,
the lion,
is the fucking literal red carpet of empathy. Those two are basically the same motherfucker. You go to Burger King. You got the big king, little king deal. That's the Emperor and Magnus.
We're not sponsored by that.
No. We do Big Mac, Little Mac here, all right?
Big Mac, Little.
The fact you said that is literally, I've only had it in my head this whole last week, is just because at the time of recording now, Dune 2's come out. And there's that obviously old meme now, it's a year old, but it's the hamburger, cheeseburger, Big Mac. The Sardaukar intro. And I'm just that's in my soul, that current vibe.
Barban's going to be so happy you mentioned that when he watches this.
Speaking of Warhammer lore, you know what I mean? The next accusation I have is that the Council of Ikea didn't go as planned. It was, they prepared the librarius, but then he did so badly that the paperwork wasn't even looked at. They were like, what the hell is, Greg just crapped on the floor in front of everybody. There's not, the workplace is not talking about anything else after that. But as he's leaving the Council of Nicaea, visions enter his mind. He sees the betrayal of Horus Lupercal, the corruption to the warp. And Magnus goes, oh man, they just banned all psychic powers. But I low-key need to use psychic powers now to save Horus in this vision quest. And I just have to do this. So they go back to Prospero, and they essentially sacrifice thousands of psychers to power up Magnus. So people are just dragged in. First of all, they're willing in the beginning because they're just acolytes of Prospero, and then eventually they go, he's not that his yes wasn't said with full confidence, but he's going to be chucked in there anyway. You know what I mean? He got do you want to come join us something? Yeah, see that's good enough. So they eventually sacrifice enough where Magnus is able to project his spirit into the warp. Turns out it's not quite enough. He basically ends up taking the form of wolves, as Horus's own soul is being taunted by Chaos and Erebus. He goes there to try and save Horus from betraying the Emperor and falling to these weird warp entities. But he basically just ends up arguing with Erebus the entire time, saying, listen, I'm, my argument's better than yours. I'm big, I'm smart, you're dumb, you're little, you know what I mean? You got, your knees weak, mum is sweaty, spaghetti. And he basically fails to convince Horus not to basically Horus the heresy over his Horus. And he goes, oh crap, I've done this huge psychic sacrifice and it failed. I better go warn the Emperor using psychic powers that he banned me from using. So again, the next round of psychos are going, come on in boys, time for a sacrifice. And he travels that network that demon showed him before, the one that I mentioned on that hot as AF planet.
Yeah.
And then he arrives at the psychic gates around the webway, sort of the mirror dimension part and around Terra. And he goes, I can't get in, I'm locked out. And then he just spots another warp entity. And this thing goes, oh, it's okay, bro. He's probably Australian for some reason. Okay, bro, I'll let you in, bro. And this thing basically gives him because the Australians would, for some reason, help. And he basically goes, yeah, there's no problem taking power from this warp entity. He accepts his power and smashes through the psychic gates of the webway. He arrives before the golden throne as like his psychic projection, and he goes, Emperor, I'm here to... And then he turns around and just hears like the worst... Think of like probably what is sentient brown note in terms of like level of horrific sound. And this is like the horde of chaos itself. Demons now flood the webway. The webway was the Emperor's great plan to save humanity, to take us all into the webway, to sort of spare us from the influence of chaos. And Magnus just broke the lock. And before Magnus, like, he realizes what he's done here. So he's done 2 sacrifice rituals that failed. And then when he's at the Emperor's feet, he doesn't go, by the way, Horus is corrupted. He just goes, I'm so sorry, Dad. Oops. And then he books it. He doesn't even tell the Emperor that Horus has been corrupted by chaos because he's too embarrassed that he let the brown note demons come in. So how do you defend that? Indefensible.
No. I have clearly now my my client was tripping hard and didn't know what he was doing. He was tripping hard on a bunch of fucking souls. We've all been there, haven't we? I mean, Your Honor, haven't you ever tripped balls on like 1,000 souls? I mean, it's just what happens. He was under the influence. He couldn't control what he was doing at the moment.
It's no Souls March. I can't, unfortunately.
Isn't this the moment I'm supposed to say Magnus did nothing wrong?
Yes. Yes. He did nothing wrong.
Isn't this the old Magnus didn't do anything wrong? I mean, yeah. Let's be honest though, the Emperor kind of fucking shat his pants and threw a tantrum, and a lot of bad things happened from this point onwards that lasted a few years. Just not even that. And it sucked, but it wasn't that bad. People are still alive. But let's be honest. If Magnus could break down this great wall, this great thing for humanity, by basically farting in his sleep, which is ostensibly what he did, was it really that great?
He had the aid of a questionable demon.
I mean, when you go hitchhiking, you find people. We can't bring them into this.
That is literally like going to like Christmas dinner and going, this is Greg. I found him next to the Gregs in my local town. He's coming with us. By the way, he might have a criminal record.
Right. Yeah, Your Honor. What Magnus did to get there, yes, was akin to speeding while your wife is giving birth. It's not allowed. It's a bit reckless. Yes,
wow, that's an incredible
but it's for the greater good. But the Webway project was an unnecessary expense. What Magnus did saved the people of Terra hundreds of thousands of tax psychic energy.
Yes.
The Emperor did, in fact,
because
build
it wasn't
that wall.
Necessary. Wind forward 10,000 years, they're all still there. The Webway portal didn't spell the end of humanity. It was unnecessary.
Imagine the fucking fuel they'd have had to... Imagine the fuel Magnus would have had to have used to have driven to Terra to let the Emperor know. Imagine the expenses that would have incurred.
The Imperium
I mean, if we stick with your Christmas dinner analogy, okay, sure. He brought Greg the criminal to Christmas dinner. Right? Sure. Okay, fine. Right. But if Christmas dinner, the Webway project, was meant to be that amazing, it wouldn't have just fucking deflated as soon as Greg the criminal poked it. It would have been able to withstand Greg the criminal.
Now,
I'm just saying.
Tom again, his just an apron. Just if he's not upset the fact that Greg takes his roast dinner and throws it against the wall, it's just so upsetting. Like, I mean, first of all, it's a crime against the British. If you touch the roast dinner with disrespect, hands are thrown. But to be fair, it's a good point. I think Aaron mentioned earlier. Like, the information was vital. He was carrying the knowledge of like the Horus heresy starting. But why didn't he tell him about Horus? Why did he was so embarrassed and so ashamed by realizing what he'd done.
He forgot. Come on, to err
My
is
client
human.
has short-term amnesia.
Yeah.
Like, Your Honour. It's in his medical history.
I plead ignorance. No, I plead mental crimp
plead
for my
the
client.
Mental crimp.
He tried his best.
And it's the way they describe it as well within the great lore part about it is when like his psychic projection is before the Emperor. And then the Emperor really knows it's Magnus, but the custodians like around are just seeing this like shining flame creature and they're firing at it and it's like just passing through him because he's a ghost or whatever. But I just love the idea like Magnus shows up, realizes what he's hearing behind him and just gets all like, oh, I'm a bit shy. Oh no. And like, ooh woo, I've tripped up. You know what I mean?
I've made an oopsie whoopsie.
Uses baby voice to the max.
Let's say, I mean, all right, let's try to explain this away, right? Let's say, you know, you're running errands, right? You got to do some important shit. It's your day off. You're not at work, so you have to get the shit done, right? So, you know, you're driving to, I don't know, the supermarket. You got to go get some cigarettes. You got to go get some milk. You know? But halfway there, or you get there, as soon as you get through the door, before you can grab the cigarettes and the milk, you shit your pants. Your priority is no longer to get the cigarettes and the milk. It's to get some new pants. You're not going to finish getting cigarettes and milk because you've now got shit going down your leg, filling your shoes.
I do hate warm sensations down my leg. That is incredibly poignant.
Magnus, unfortunately, he couldn't help it. My client shat his pants. He needed to get some new pants. He didn't have time to get the cigarettes and the milk. He needed to get new pants.
Weird sidetrack here, but this is like a what-if question. You get the ability to double jump, but on your double jump, you shit your pants when you take it.
Last resort, man. Last resort.
It's an emergency thing. Sorry, it's so off kilter.
I'm taking it.
Needs must.
I'm doing it.
Yeah, I'll take
Sorry, boys, I'm in. I see the trade-off. I'm willing to pay the price. I'm in.
People put in the comments below whether they take the bet or not. Take the power. But it's so like, you know what I mean? It's like, I love that like the power comes with like a. Oh no! I wonder if you could start in the comments. It's like people write a power and then someone has to write the what was it like the downside of that power? Which is
Don't
like,
let Red in. Don't let Red anywhere near that, or it'll just be fucking. It'll just be. Here's the power. Downside: testicular torsion for everything.
I remember this is one from Colin from Pancakes No Work. You should have him on if you haven't already. But he told us one on law crimes, which was you either have to live in the woods like alone, completely nothing, no safety, nothing for a year, or for like 2 months, your asshole itches slightly.
How long was the survival again?
A year alone in the woods.
Listen, I'll take the asshole itching, thanks.
Ass itch.
I ain't no Ted Kaczynski. I'm not doing it.
Sorry, this is so off kilter. Sorry, criminal scum Magnus. The next point, almost over there, to be fair, which is when he returned back to his body on Prospero. As you said, he crapped his pants. He's panicking, and his guard Uthazar, loyal Uthazar, who's been with him for centuries, accidentally enters the room and goes, "You're right, bro. What's happening?" And then looks into Magnus's eye and manages to gleam the events of. He psychically projects himself into Magnus, and he sees everything that Magnus has done and what he just did in Terror.
Yeah.
And realizes that the Emperor is now amassing a fleet to come and destroy Prospero. Uthazar goes, "We should go warn the others, bro. This is terrible." He tries to leave. He doesn't leave because Magnus glasses him like in an instant. He glasses him, and you're thinking, why did he do that? Because next he would go to lock himself in his tower, have a really good cry. He creates a psychic shield over Prospero, which doesn't let any information in or out. And this is so that when the invasion happens on Prospero, he can sacrifice his legion so that the Imperials will basically come out of it with more resources to be able to battle Horus. But this is the problem. The invasion is happening, and he's just watching Prospero burn. And he hears all the screams of the millions of people who live there. The Prospero is like a jewel of a civilization. Its libraries are the greatest within the Imperium. And everything is just getting crunked by space wolves, custodies, sisters of silence. And the whole point is, like, even Russ says, like, Magnus to himself doesn't say, I'll come out and I'll talk to people. He just goes, no, I'm not talking to anyone. I'm too upset. And he only comes out to battle Leman Russ when they finally destroy the libraries. When his whole legion is nearly dead, he goes, listen, burning my entire civilization and life's work, that's okay. But the libraries, that's just a step too far. The building's too nice. Defend that.
I mean, it'll be the same for Leman Russ in the situation's reversed. I mean, you destroy everything. As soon as you touch the furries, then Lehman's coming in. You know?
Leman Russ was mentioned.
Listen, man, everyone has their
Get to the fursuit armory and he steps in.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a fact
Your
that...
Honor.
Oh, go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Your Honor, Magnus hadn't returned all his books to the library yet.
The late...
He had dues.
So he pay off his late fee and then let watch the world burn. Terrible.
Your Honor, I think the defense for this one is actually pretty straightforward, to be honest. If you're in a situation where pretty much everything in existence is trying to kill you, you get a free pass.
So he's in a stupor.
Yeah, at this point, if Magnus doesn't have a get out of jail free card, who does? You know, that's a legal thing that we need to, take into account. And I think at this point in the proceedings,
Magnus did nothing wrong. This is literally Magnus did nothing wrong.
No, I mean, listen, if you're stuck in a situation and every single person is either at best shouting slurs at you and at worst is trying to kill you, you've got a free pass to do whatever the fuck you want. Truly. If you want to be, let's be honest, Magnus giving the Space Wolves a fucking head start, that was a service. Now, sure, it wasn't his intention in the first place, but it was a service. So, once again, Leman Russ should be thanking Magnus. You know?
It's
on that point, Leman Russ.
Yes.
Leman Russ. Yes.
Oh,
Leman Russ.
strong. It's very strong.
Leman Russ.
Yep.
That fucking guy.
Yeah. Is he a redhead or is he blonde? Because it depends on what novel he's in.
Yeah.
He is Leman Russ.
Yeah.
Correct.
I mean, it's like Sanguinius. In his first appearance, he has black hair. It's like, okay, what the fuck?
Because if he's a redhead, it's like two redheads going at it, and it's very sad if that happens. And it's a crime. To be fair,
Redhead on redhead violence. Make it stop, man.
make it stop. They have souls.
To be fair, there's actually a witness I would like to call
miss the
to stand
joke.
for this.
You know what?
Can I call a witness to the stand real quick? Is that okay?
Who's the witness?
None other than Constantine Valdor. Now, I spoke to Constantine before we did this, and he said, Leman Russ is a big fat idiot. And actually escalated the situation to heights that it did not need to go to. And come on, Valdor, his word, that's second to the Emperor himself. Now, I know the Emperor was throwing a bit of a tantrum at this point in the proceedings, but let's be honest, if Constantine Valdor is going to come forward to the court today and say that Leman Russ was acting the fool, I think that means we give Magnus a free pass. He already deserved a free pass even without this, for basically being held at gunpoint.
To be fair, on the law side of it, it's one of the greater tragedies, and especially the 30k setting, because even burned and ruined Prospero, its ruins still haunt parts of the warp, and it's very sad. And even the Thousand Suns book is quite I was like, man, that's it just sucks to hear the civilization just kind of ruin. And to be fair, another law sort of point here as well, Russ wasn't sent there initially to destroy the Thousand Suns and Magnus. He was sent to capture him, but Horus changed the orders. So good old now corrupted Horus changed the orders that Russ had to basically wipe the slate clean of these Thousand Suns, make them less than 1,000, if you know what I mean. So there's a bit of manipulation here on all parts. But to be fair, one last bit is like Magnus as well. When this is happening, he's like smashed this mirror that's in his room, and then within the shards is like the demon he saw earlier that showed him the webway path, and he's basically taunting him, being like, "You fell into the trap. You couldn't help yourself. That's why we knew you would fall for this." Gang, gang.
Your Honor.
Well,
that sounds like somebody else admitting to being the guilty party.
Precisely.
Yes, this is heresy of the Horus variety.
I was gonna get to that point. Like clearly Leman Russ was provoked. Like he was provoked by an outside force, which led to the unfortunate and totally unreasonable destruction of one of the greatest repository of knowledge in all of the Imperium. And I just need to say for my client and to the rest of the defendants here that this is by far the single greatest crime in all of the Imperium. We lost so much on that day, and never forget. It's
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Honestly, man, make the Imperium great again.
Oh my god, no.
In a video game, that changes it. It's fine. We say in a video game.
Fuck's sake.
It's pretty tragic, but not as tragic as what's next, which is Magnus finally shows up, the Psycho sort of demigod himself, and then he gets beaten by Leman Russ, which honestly is a crime in itself. Like,
should have won that fight.
I mean, and he gets his back broken on Russ's knee. Russ cheats because he has like special armor that's like warded against psychic power. So he basically goes, your main strength is your weakness now, but that's not a fair fight. Come on, let Magnus do his thing, bro. Then at the point of when Magnus is broken, his thousand sons are literally crying as it's happening because they're watching like, oh my god, my dad's back got broken in front of me on purpose. That's kind of hard to watch. And Prospero is burning. And Magnus listens to this demon once again, and he basically, in his last moment, he goes, I want to sacrifice my sons to, spare the Imperium and save it. I won't help Chaos. I won't help this warp creatures, destroy my father's empire and dream." Tzeentch goes, "Yo, but I can get you out of here." And he goes, "Yeah, that sounds kind of nice." And so he basically agrees to Tzeentch's help, and Tzeentch basically whisks away Magnus and all of the Thousand Sons into the warp. And essentially Magnus is I like this word so much. He is sharded, not sharted, sharded. He is broken into, his soul is shattered into pieces, which is spread out throughout the universe. But the main crime here is he's basically a hypocrite at this point, because he sacrifices his sons to not help Chaos, but then eventually accepts the help of Chaos. So there was no, at the last moment when the Legion was about, only had 1,000 of them left on Prospero, you let all all 40,000 of the rest of them die, but those last 1,000 was that's worth saving, but not the rest of them. How could you defend that?
He is the son of his father.
That doesn't mean much.
The Emperor,
let him cook.
Clearly, it's just who he is. He can't. It's nothing he can do about it. You see, the Emperor, again, faulty production. He makes his sons to be these soldiers for him, these generals, and then he just goes and gives them these desires to explore. I mean, if he didn't want that to happen, then why did he make them in the first place? I'm just saying.
So he has no responsibility for his personality.
Well, Your Honor, I would like to plead. Your Honor, I would like to plead diminished responsibility, but for a totally different reason, and that's because the spine is connected to the brain, and his spine was broken. Therefore, this is all once again Leman Russ's fault.
Pleading madness.
While it's still relevant, Leman Russ.
Yeah, there's Leman Russ. No, Your Honor, I understand it's at
He's
face
not the reverse
value.
Uno card you think he is.
To an outsider, it seems very shallow. It seems like betrayal, right? But if Lehman Russ hadn't, the spine, well, things might have gone a bit differently,
So he would have been fine, but the spine snap
Yeah.
kind
the
of made
spine,
him...
you're on a diminished responsibility. The spine is connected to the brain, and Lehman Russ basically crimped my client, and my client had to make it a split-second decision.
It doesn't...
Your Honor, have you ever had your spine broken like a glow stick?
I have not been folded in half.
Would you like to be?
Would you like to be?
I'm not that flexible for now. It's a fair enough. But this is coming on to my last point here, which was basically the shards of Magnus over the Horus Heresy. The Thousand Suns didn't really do much at this point because they're kind of like, we lost so much, it sucks. The flesh changes back, by the way. Hell yeah. And the Thousand Sons managed to assemble enough of the shards to sort of reform Magnus into sort of an almost whole being. But there's one more shard he knows is on Terra. So he shows up to the Siege of Terra, basically going, the Emperor was a bad guy. He low-key should have helped me. He didn't tell me of all these things. Like, it's not my fault. I was just so curious. I couldn't help it. And he basically helps Mortarion. He sort of, like, teaches Mortarion magic. That's a horrific crime in itself. For some reason, he helps, like, Mortarion not feel as much pain in his body. Big crime. Should have let that guy rot, literally. He, atomizes Malcador the Sigillite because they're playing like a chess game and there's another like perpetual in the room with them, and Malcador just goes, oh, you're here for that shard, right? He went, yeah. It's like, you kind of could low-key return to the Imperium, things were like, you're not done, you're not irredeemable. He went, I'm not really irredeemable, that's so true. He basically went, so where's my last shard, like this shard of me that contains like lots of my noble self, my memory, my personalities in it. It's the best of me. Where is it? And he goes, And Malcador gets a bit nervous. And he goes, we kind of, as we were saying earlier, the anus is a pocket. And this was pocketed into Janus, who's now the Grand Master of the Grey Knights. And that was sent away onto Titan and it's lost in the warp. Magnus goes, and also fair, Malcador does say to him, by the way, all the shards are just shards. They're not like representing different pieces of you. You just made that up. But Magnus goes, that's not true, and he just he atomizes Malcador, cuts him in half, whatever. He just, puts, big red giant slaps down old man, doesn't look good. And then he walks up to the throne all huffy and is about to kill the Emperor. Vulcan turns up and goes, don't do that. We don't like that around here. We don't do that around here. That's not our thing. And then Magnus kind of goes, I'm just so angry, I'm sorry. And then the Emperor goes, you're not irredeemable. You've been manipulated. It's not, I can save you. But you need to do one thing for me. He's like, yes, anything, Dad. He goes, anything. I just want to be by your side to learn from you. I won't make the same mistakes before. He goes, I know you won't. Your sons, they're diseased. They need to all go into the bin because they are corrupted by Zeech. And then Magnus goes, huh? And he goes, don't make the same mistakes before. You tried to save them, but you've ruined them beyond measure. They're gone. You can't save them. Magnus goes, oh no. so he just goes, but I won't do this without my sons. And went, really? I mean, you kind of you sacrificed your sons in like saving that ship. You kind of glassed your son the other day, didn't you? Like when he tried to warn the others. You kind of let your legion die on Prospero. Like you watched it. You didn't just like let it happen. You watched it, and then at the end you kind of went, "Oh, now it's a bit too much." But then like the last 1,000 of them, like corrupted by chaos because Zeech has ruined them. You want to save that, the unsavable. And Magnus goes, "Yeah, I'm so upset with you," and tries to kill the Emperor. And then basically Vulcan and a few other salamanders just start hacking him to pieces. They just hack him up. And then he basically accepts Zeech's offer to join him because he basically goes, F it, I've got nothing else to live for. But that's not true. Because the crimes here are just too many to count. He helps in the Siege of Terra. He helps siege Terra for some reason. Helps Mortarion. Kills Malcador. Almost kills the Emperor. Rejects the Emperor's offer to not join Chaos. And basically goes, oh, but my sons. The sons he kind of let die and didn't really care that much about, until like the very last second where he's like, all right, 1,000 of them, I can let that happen because, the name sounds cool now. So how could you defend that?
Your Honor, this was simply a clash between a deadbeat dad and a good-willed dad. And Magnus is not the deadbeat dad in this situation. It just ended up being a bit of a domestic case. But my client had good intentions.
Oh my god. Indefensible.
Now you see, clearly, this is a case of outside influence, because you said, as you said yourself, he spent time with Mortarion, and as we know him, the biggest smelling hypocrite of the 40k universe. He clearly had a bad influence on my client, on our client, and he probably put some magic on him or something, made him more stupider. And
I think fucking Malkador running away with a good chunk of Magnus's fucking mental capacity might have contributed towards that.
That as well. We have, if Malkador hadn't taken Magnus's noble shard and stuffed it inside of his son,
the pocket.
I can't. Then obviously all of this would have been fine. So, in conclusion, Malkador and Mortarion are little bitches.
I've just to go off out of roleplay for a minute. I've just realized through this conversation what Magnus actually is. He is the embodiment of good-willed, good-intentioned, but too little, too late. He is well-intentioned. He wants the best, and it's always at the precipice. He's like, it's too late. From the Flesh Change to the burning of Prospero to the Siege of Terror, it's always just too little, too late. It was just a shame because he's an intricate and interesting character, and I won't lie. Actually, the burning of Prospero is like one of my favorite moments in the Heresy.
Yeah, it slaps.
Have you seen Oculus Imperia's like 6-hour fucking playlist on it?
Funny enough,
It's
as someone
so
who
good.
also makes ridiculously long form videos, I haven't managed to get around to.
It's so good. It's so good. It's so good.
Highly recommended, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm craving that guy on my channel. I can't get him to answer my email. I'm like, brother, we are the same. We must unite.
We'll fucking get him. Don't you? Don't you fucking worry. We'll fucking get him.
Find his address. I mean, excuse me.
No. It's just I think it's really interesting going through like all of these different sort of scenarios because that is the big overarching theme of Magnus. He's so well intentioned, and I want to say he's not prideful, but seems prideful. He seems very prideful, but I don't think he actually is. I think he's a child. I don't want to say that in the way that's insulting. I don't want to say that about him. Yeah, exactly. I don't want to say he's a child, like, oh, he's a little bitch. I mean, he is a little bitch, but so like half the Primarch, so that doesn't really fucking matter. But he is naive, and I think his naivety probably stems from him being the one that can see the warp, him being the one that has probably the most in common with the Emperor. It's almost like he's put himself on a pedestal without realizing it. And the realities of, reality sort of crash down on him. And I think it comes back to the defense we had for like the third or fourth entry, and that's that the Emperor really didn't equip this motherfucker well enough. I'm not going to say Magnus did nothing wrong. However, every other motherfucker along the way did something wrong too. It is a joint enterprise, this crime. The Emperor, Horus, Leman Russ, Vulcan, Malkador the Sigillite, Lorgar, Perturabo, when we say Magnus did nothing wrong, he did do something wrong. All of them did too. And the Psychon, fuck those guys.
My favorite part about him is like his, the catchphrase like ignorance is the only sin.
Yeah.
His ignorance in so much of his interactions with the warp is his downfall.
But that's it. If we're saying that, ignorance is his sin, the Emperor was the only bastard who could have soothed that, who could have helped that, who could have aided with that, who could have taken that away. I mean, he still might have made the same mistakes or similar mistakes, but he never got the chance to go into any of the issues that would be uniquely Magnus, any of the warp-based issues that would face him uniquely, properly prepared. And the Emperor is to blame for that. And yes, Magnus is to blame as well, just like all the other names I've just rattled off. But, I think when we say Magnus did nothing wrong, you're kind of a moron, but you've also got a point. Because
power without wisdom to use it.
Yeah. He could have been equipped better.
See, this is why I love character stuff, bros. It's so good.
Yeah, absolutely.
And,
to sort of paraphrase Mishmash Painting on fellow YouTuber.
Mishmash Painting, let's go. I had DMs with him. I don't want to spoil what I had DMs with him about because it's fucking awesome. Sorry, I just wanted to throw that out there.
No, I completely agree with you. He says something in the lines of, to paraphrase, Magnus the Red has good intentions, but whenever a life-altering choice falls on his lap, he just gets completely crimped and loses his shit. And he is... This is also out of roleplay, out of character.
That's right, roleplay ended.
It's part of what makes Magnus the Red charming. It's part of what makes all the Primarchs charming, is that they are these extremely flawed and human characters.
We spent the last 2 hours really just tearing into Magnus as a joke, but this last 2 hours has done nothing but make me like him more. I'm not gonna lie. I like him more now than I ever did.
I've done my work in some way.
And I like Mortarion even less.
Maybe if you ever let me and come back on, I'll be the other side defending Mortarion. It's possible. But I have only one last thing to end on. But before that, do you think Magnus can double jump? But does he also shit himself when he does the double jump?
Listen, he can double jump, but he's shitting himself. He's shitting himself anyway. He shits himself when he doesn't double jump, alright?
Oh, God.
Thank you for making it to the end of the episode. If you're enjoying our content, a like, share, and comment go a long way to help. But if that isn't enough for you, consider supporting us over at Patreon, and you too can be up on this wall behind me. And lest I forget, head on over to our Discord and say hello. Thank you for watching. Tack och hej, leverpastej.
Right, time for the patron questions. So, we have 2 today. The first one is from Monsieur Orgon. And Orgon asks, if you could remove any major faction from Warhammer, what would it be and why? I would like to ask our guest, Hal, to answer first.
I'm sorry, Arthur Bones. The Leagues of Votan. Immediate Leagues of Votan. Perhaps the worst attempt at creating a new faction, because first of all, unoriginal. I hate how generic it is. It's it's the Primaris Intercessor faction. It's just Primaris Intercessor vibe. It's not. You know what I mean? I feel like it's the only reason people like it is because of Deep Rock Galactic. It's just there's no other reason to like it. And there was such an opportunity there to make it crazy. This is Warhammer 40k, the Grimdark universe, and the Grimdark future. There is only average-looking sci-fi dwarves. That's my answer, because I don't want to get into it because I'll get too upset.
So you don't know this, but you've actually stumbled into a podcast of 3 guys, and the 4th, who's not here right now, who all adore the Leagues of Votan and how DW's handled them so far. Who also all adore fucking Deep Rock. I'm afraid if there's no more uploads from the Amber King, it's because he's been killed.
Deep Rock is fine. Deep Rock is
We're
the
sending the
is
phone spiders now.
Deep Rock is the saving grace. The Votan are not that though. They are. It just annoys me. Like they could have been something much more original and a bit more interesting, just from a lore perspective. Like I'm mostly a lore channel, so.
In their fairness, it is somewhat of an original take because it's not the generic sort of like fantasy medieval dwarf sort of take put into sci-fi. It's a sci-fi dwarf aesthetic. It's not trying to put something else into another setting. I think this is what I quite like about them.
I think as well, like a lot of their uniqueness is in their subtlety, and I think we have to. I mean, I know this is a shit defense, but it's also the best one, and that is that they're still in their infancy. If, let's say, we fast forward to the end of, like, 2025, if they are still where they're at now in terms of depth by the end of next year, I'll be on that boat with you. I will be slamming them as much as everyone else, 100%.
I just need more lore. I need context to make something
I think we should
cool.
give them a chance, you know?
To be completely fair, Tom, we've just had a full episode of shit defenses, so I think it's on the brand.
Yeah, no, that's
Part
fair.
of the course.
That's fair. So, if you could remove any major facts from Warhammer, what would it be and why, Aaron?
Ooh. I'd probably say something like maybe Drukhari. They just don't do anything. They're not really in any sort of major events that I'm aware of in recent 40k. They just sort of exist to shitpost and torture people.
That's fair. I mean, I disagree, but that's fair. I can see if I had to. Actually, I'll come back to mine in a minute. Moots.
I have two.
Is it the Death Guard?
Well, there's the meme answer, which is, and then there's the one that I truly wanted. The meme answer is, for anyone who knows me, it's going to be the Space Wolves and the Lehman.
Brother.
Just snap my fingers how those guys fucking evaporated and disappear. It's, but
Actually, I would have said Dark Angels if I realized it was chapter specific. I thought about Space Marines as a whole.
But my serious answer is probably actually the Death Guard, because to me, they don't feel any space to me. They just exist. They're there and they're stinky. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna challenge for myself. I'm gonna have to read up on them, and I'll get back to that question another time to see if it's still the same.
Lords of Silence is the book you want to read, and that would change. That's considered the best chaos book.
We have an
heard,
exceptional homebrewer in the Astartes Anonymous Discord called Monos, and he really rates the Lords of Silence books. Book? Is it books? No, it's a book.
Book.
Yeah, he. I was talking to him, and I was actually shit talking the Death Guard from a. Sorry, I was shit talking Plague Marines from a homebrewing standpoint, and he literally said, "Have you read Lords of Silence?" And I'm like, "No," and he didn't say this in response, but he might as well have. He might as well have just said, "Shut the fuck up," then, because his response basically made me feel that. But he's an exceptional homebrewer, and he really rates Lords of Silence. If you like the Death Guard and you like Plague Marines and stuff. So I think for me, if I could remove any major faction, it's a tough one. But lately, there is one I would remove, but it's not. It's not a major faction. In fact, can I just remove an author?
Is it Nick Kime?
Huh?
Is it Nick Kime?
No.
The wrong answer then.
Is it Ian Watson? Or?
No,
I'm sorry,
McNiven.
Which one does he author?
He's the one who's he did the a couple of Kacharadon books.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, it's just because he did the fucking. He included the what's that renegade chapter called the Ashen Clause? The
Ashen Clause.
The Ashen Clause, yeah.
Astral Clause, Ashen Clause. I don't know if you know McNiven or McNiven, whatever his name is, Rob, what's his face in the Karl books, and that renegade chapter. Basically, the reason I say him, I know he's not a faction. I know I'm not even answering your question.
Morgan,
I'm really sorry, but this is what I'm going with. I need to get this off my chest. Renegade chapters are a wonderful thing in 40k, yes, and a wonderful thing in homebrewing. And there's just this one chapter that exists in canon that completely fucks up the parameters of a Renegade chapter, and it's that one. It's the Ashen Clause or the Astral Clause, whatever they're fucking called, by McNiven in one book. So personally, as a homebrewer, and someone homebrewing is so important to, I think for that he probably needs to be taken outside and shot.
In a video game.
Yeah, of course. I just really, I don't like that. Oh, it fucks because there's so many great homebrew chapters, man. Homebrew Renegade chapters, and then there's the ones that are just really fucking bad, and you try to talk to them about how to improve the homebrew chapters, and they just quote this one fucking book where there's this one god-awful canon Renegade chapter, and it's like, my guy, you should never have written them in the first place, you know?
I thought you were going to say Raven Guard because no one would notice.
I literally just heard Arthur Bones grin. I heard his lips moving to turn into a grin when you said that.
Arthur, you better watch this entire episode. You better.
He fucking should. You know what I said? I said at the start of this episode, before we started recording, I said that I'd written an intro, but then I deleted it. There was actually a sentence in the intro I'd written. I'd literally just written, we might as well have made this episode for Arthur Bones.
He's a great lad.
So the next question for our patron questions today, so the final patron question before we end this episode off, is from Rion. Now, Rion, I just want to throw out there, Rion has been a patron since almost the beginning. I think he was like our 3rd or 4th ever patron.
Yeah.
Whenever the fuck we started up the patron, so he's been with us for the long haul, and he's still with us. And Rion asks, if you could be any role on a pirate ship, what would you be and why? Karl, what would you be on a pirate ship and why?
God, I'm like... there was an answer in my brain then that was, like, not safe for work.
If you can say it in a safer way, we can run it.
I mean, for a serious answer, probably the guy who gets to sit inside all the day. Maybe the scribe or something.
The scribe.
Whoever has to write my illiterate captain's letters, just because you don't have to actually operate the boat.
Excellent, Aaron.
Probably lookout. You get to chill on the crow's nest all day.
It's freezing up there.
Do fucking nothing.
Good fucking pick.
That was going to be my answer too.
You can't go to the loo.
Just chilling.
Moots, you can't pick the lookout. Which do you pick?
No.
You can't go to the loo in the lookout.
No.
Shit off the side.
Yeah, everything is your loo. What are you talking about?
Squat a cheek over the side and go for it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, shit, fuck. I think the second choice I would have would take then is probably the cook, because honestly,
yeah, that's a good shout.
Good answer.
Everyone loves
best friend.
You do a lot of hard work, but everyone loves you. That's a good one.
Well, it's perfect. I love making food. I love feeding my bros. It's
good
great.
shout. Good shout. For me, I'm torn between two. I would have to either say the captain, because
Of course.
bossy. I just fit that role, or potentially the quartermaster, because the idea of handling muskets all day and cannonballs and shit and bossing around other people with
This took a
and
turn.
you're the only person on the boat the captain's never going to have a go at because he needs you.
Yeah, I bet you love handling the balls.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching this episode of the Astartes Anonymous podcast. We will see you next time.
Tune in for more Swedish lore.
Toodaloo.